We're here. Oh, I didn't add you. Oh my gosh, I'm so terrible. Here we go.
Leaving me out. It's all good.
I know, right? Why do I always do that?
And boom,
Okay, everybody,
my
welcome
camera
back
was
to
turning.
the Black Carnivore podcast or live stream rather. Welcome. I'm excited to be here. My God, it's been 2 weeks now, Ariane, and I'm really excited to get a chance to talk to you and get caught up. So I'm sorry we're so late, but we're gonna talk for a second to get caught up. You're doing okay with salts now, or what's your story?
Yeah. Yeah. Still following the same protocol as 2 weeks ago. Just I make that isotonic saline and sip it every once in a while, and I feel good. I've also been
Nice.
eating a ton of jerky, and I think that's partially for the protein, partially for the salt.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I salt too much with the jerky, and so my dog, I see her go get something to drink after every snack. But so I try to modulate it, but I don't always get it right. Well,
Hmm.
for me, I have been loving Redmond's smoked salt, and I am so upset that they are sold out. I ran out, 2 days ago or yesterday, and I was like, great, let me go order some more. And no more. And I write them and they say, a couple months. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Oh,
So, so I'm blown now
well,
because I
they said
remember
it's
you
a
talking
special
about them.
batch.
And you said that you were going to put up the code, like I think it was going to be in the notes for that video.
I
And
did.
I don't know if you did. I didn't check for it, but I realized that I used up my last of the big refills of Redmond. So I was like, all right, I need to buy salt. I'm going to try this smoked salt. And I guess I'll just get a ton of those. And now they're all out. You ate it all.
I did not. I only got one of each. I wish I should have ordered a metric ton. Next time I will. But yeah, stuff's good. Good, really good. So I am very, very bummed. And I don't know if Carnivore Crisps is watching, but you guys ought to partner with that stuff. Man, that would be nice flavor.
Mm, that's a good idea.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, all right. So the Salt Sagas continue, and it sounds like you're doing well. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, they sell a salt dish too.
what?
Sorry, I'm on their website now, and they have one of those things that you put salt in with like the top that twists to the side. It's a little dish for salt. It's real cute looking. I feel like buying it.
Um, so sure. Maybe not while on the live stream, but
No, no, no.
you do
But
you. Like if you can't refrain from shopping for an hour.
it's because you said that they were sold out of the smoked salt, so I wanted
Yeah,
to go.
yeah. If anybody knows how to smoke salts, that may not be a bad, product to make. So there you
Mm,
go. Okay, so let's dive in and talk about Ken Berry. Oh my God, I can't believe
yeah.
we had him on the channel. That was so awesome. What'd you guys think of the interview? And what did you
Um,
think, Ariane?
yeah, I was gonna say, are you? Do we want to wait for them to answer? I thought it was a really good interview. Um, it was. I've seen him do other ones, and I feel like this was one of his better, more interesting interviews. Not that he's not interesting other times, but like he really went in and talked about topics, and I think you gave him the space to expound really well on things that I haven't heard him talk about before, or not at
Mm-hmm.
that level of detail.
Mm-hmm.
Like the cholesterol thing and saturated fat, and that the ADA stopped recommending against cholesterol and saturated fat, but they're not making a big deal out of it. They just kind of
Mm-hmm.
quietly let that happen. Like they don't want to admit their fault. I didn't
Yeah.
know. I knew that the RDAs had changed, I think, but like not that the ADA had such a hand in that and that there's no announcement being made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know it's pretty stunning, and it's like I don't even know what to do about that. Like,
Mhm.
how do you share that information? And then, when I go to tell people they're no longer making that recommendation, people are like, "What? I'm sure I saw it. Yeah, it's on the website." And it's like, ugh, how do you prove a negative,
I guess you would have to go to,
Screenshot
I don't
every
know.
page.
Yeah, basically, like you have to have a screenshot for where it used to be and where it would be in the new version of the recommendations, and that it's not there anymore.
Right. Yeah. Wow, we've got some new people here too, or names that I don't recognize in a while. So D Rhodes, hey, and let's see, Iggy Six Figures, welcome. I'm so glad you enjoyed the interview.
Mm.
And Paulette, you posted something earlier, I think, on Facebook, asking me to check my messages, but I didn't see a message from you, so I'm not sure what that was about. Um, but if there's something that you want me to know, let me know.
And then I think that's the same Paulette that asked the question about like body odor or deodorant recently on Facebook.
Huh? I don't know. Hey, Nichelle, welcome. Hmm. So yeah, so the cholesterol thing that was really that was just sad and upsetting. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and I
like
I thought so. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it was like carnivore outrage. Like I think you go carnivore and you realize how much misinformation is out there about diet specifically, but then maybe other things, and you just get outraged by all of it.
Yeah, yeah. It's really hard too. I mean, we're obviously living in difficult times. There's all kinds of medical stuff going on. There's like a total, I mean, for the last year and a half, there's been a total breakdown in the form of communication around health stuff. And add that into me already being distrustful of the medical system because of what we know in terms of carnivore. It just, it just doesn't help that I just feel like there is no place to go for good solid information. And at this point I feel like that there isn't really, for both extremes, there's no way to meet in the middle. Like, my the counterpoint of me who's a vegan, like I feel like, we could be frenemies and say hey and be, chatty, but I don't really see us being able to speak to each other and and understand the other one's perspective. I mean, and I feel like, vegans are often, not even using the same scientific studies. And so we're not even talking the same language. We're, in terms of the science, we're not drawing from the same well. And so when that's happening, I don't know how you have a conversation. And then all the people in the middle who don't care about any of that stuff, and who just like want to get healthier, lose a little weight, bring their blood pressure down,
Hmm.
they are being bombarded with information that is, entirely, I don't know, confusing and irrelevant in many cases.
Yeah, yeah. It's a like staggering thing to have the two extremes and no like honest broker of truth wherever truth exists, and you just have to like I don't know like navigate your way through that. For those middle people, that has to suck, and then for us trying to talk to vegans, yeah, like if they're quoting a study or not even quoting, they'll be quoting some doctor who's quoting a bunch of studies who says that this percentage of this, and it's like all associational data, so it's really not useful in nutrition for various reasons. You would have to have a whole conversation about that before you could even talk about the like the facts of any situation.
Yeah. And I don't know, I find it kind of dizzying because often people don't really understand the study that they're quoting, or like you said, the kind of science that was used to collect the data. And
Hmm.
and really aren't able to have, a I don't want to say intelligent conversation, but a conversation coming from a place of like, well, coming from a place of understanding, that type of science. Like, if you haven't, if
Hmm.
you haven't been a social scientist or done, those kinds of large kinds of studies, it's kind of hard to understand, why they do or don't work or whatever.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, so I feel like, trying to go in that direction is just kind of hard for people. And I don't know, I feel like most people are just not interested, other than like the highlight. Eggs will kill you, eggs won't kill you. So,
Right. Yeah.
right, yeah. Um, Okay, so Triple J, the keto dog, I am so happy you are here. I should say that I met Triple J on Clubhouse, and he was doing, great with keto and decided to try carnivore for a week. And I guess that was like, what, 2 months ago? And,
Mm.
it has been smooth sailing. He's not, he's doing great on carnivore, doesn't really like vegetables, so he's on our side. So yay! So
Nice.
make sure you join the Facebook group. I don't know if you have the link, Triple J, but definitely send me a DM on Instagram and we'll get that set up. Hey, large picture, great to see you. Um, and Paulette, okay, so you were asking about sweating and body odor. I feel like somebody talked about that recently. I mean, gave an answer.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. I don't know. Thank you, Mommy Does Keto. Yes, everybody hit the like and subscribe button. I really appreciate that. Yes. So the other thing that I thought was really helpful about, what Dr. Berry was talking about was, how deep we went in on the protein sparing modified fast and also the difficulties people have in losing weight. And I think for me, he clarified some stuff that, I didn't fully have a grasp on. Um, I mean, for one, he said that I think that there's a limit on how much a person can lose or how much a woman, middle-aged, long-term obese woman can lose
Hmm.
regardless of how much she might weigh. And so, trying to manipulate the diet to increase that may actually be counterproductive. That's kind of what I came away from, hearing him talk about. So the protein sparing modified fast, he talked about it as a tool and one that should be used sparingly, and that most people wouldn't need to use. But recognize that women, our weight loss is slow, it is very bumpy and up and down and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know, but I have to say, like for me, I think that I don't know, maybe with my brain, my addictions, all the sugar and cigarettes and whatnot that I have had over the years, like I just do not do well with restriction, and it triggers a rebound effect that is, overwhelms whatever benefit might have come from the restriction in the first place.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So for me, I don't think that works. Either the protein sparing modified fast or the fasting itself, frankly. I mean, other than like, being able to go from dinner to breakfast or dinner to lunch. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. So he was kind of saying like, when you're trying to go those long periods of time, it's sending a signal to the body that there's, something awful going on. So when, your fat is very low, it's not a great thing.
I mean, it sounds like period, then it's not really a great thing. Like it's sending the wrong signal to your body. Because when your body is in that state of like, well, I don't know what's going on, but we're in a food scarce situation. We need to conserve. So then your metabolism is going to go lower, and that's when people say like, well, you don't want to be in starvation mode because then your body's just going to try to conserve energy. Um, yeah, that doesn't sound like a proper way to live for any long-term period of time. And I think he talked about it as like it's a tool. It ought to be like one of your last resorts. There's all these other things that you can do to try to break your stall. But another thing that I think he said was that like you, your weight loss is just going to happen differently. It's not going to be this linear thing that you can just know that you can control, especially for women. And that sucks. It's not fair, but that's how our biology works.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the more I see and the more I watch people in this community, the more I work with clients, the more I see of myself, I realize that it's carnivore works, but it is not fast and you just can't wrangle it faster. Um,
Hmm.
so, I like what I like about the carnivore diet is I do truly think that this is the last diet, the last thing that I'll ever have to do, that it is entirely sustainable for the long term, it feel great, and all of these amazing things happen. So it is the only thing I can really stick to long term, and it does work, but it's just slow. And I think that the things that we do to try to speed it up can work in the short term, and it just depends on how damaged our bodies are, how much they rebel against it afterwards. So I think some people seem to be able to do the protein sparing modified fast for a period of time and not have that happen. I'm not one of those people, but I do see people who are, being able to stick with it for a while, and it's not a problem. Or, they seem to be able to handle it. But I don't know, I don't know how long, um, how long you can do it and what the, or why there are these differences. I mean, I suspect it, that I don't know, just years of sugar abuse have just, destroyed everything. And my brain is,
Hmm.
your body never forgets anything you've ever done. And I've done all of these, restrictive diets over and over and over again. So, it's just like, oh, here we go again, another famine. I don't know what's going on. But things are a lot better when I just keep the fat up and eat the fat, and then it's fine, and then I feel okay.
Yeah. Um, that is definitely what works best for me. I'm glad that I'm not that person who like is looking at myself and I guess like has that dysmorphia where like you can only see problem areas and not like places of progress. Um, because I I would hate to be that person. Um, it would be too much stress for me to be the type that like is constantly tweaking, constantly trying to hack this thing and control it all. And I want to be this. I want to lose this much weight by this time. Um, and if I don't see that happen, I'm gonna freak out. Like that's a lot of stress that I don't need. I couldn't be that person. I gotta
Welcome to
just let
being a
stuff go.
woman.
Right. And that's what
And
sucks because
getting
like
to
society,
the pleasure of trying to work, raise a family, kids, all of that.
right. And that's like if you're gonna do all that, there's already so much on y'all. Like let this one thing go. If you can, if you like make the effort to let it go because you don't need the stress. It's actually all that stress is counter to your goal anyway.
Yeah. I agree. And the weight loss does come. And, the body recomposition might be happening first. Like, I'm looking at
Hmm.
pictures and I can see, people have lost weight, fell off, had a little binge, went back. And I can see that even after that, and the weight's up, the body still looks down, looks smaller than 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago.
Hmm.
So, there's significant recomposition happening even when, there's a little bit of increase in weight, from whatever. So it's working. it just takes time. But this is the only thing that I can conceivably do with a minimal amount of effort long term.
Right. And I liked, so real quick, because I'm going to move us off this point with this comment. Marianne said she sees PMF and she sees diet mentality, restrict and binge cycles. Somewhat agree. I think that if someone's trying to long term protein sparing modified fast, then it definitely can look like that.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the dangers of it. Um, but And that actually that goes straight to the other point I wanted to make is that like carnivore is just simple. And the reason it's simple is because it's what we're supposed to do. Like the title of this show is what is the proper human diet? That's Ken Berry's like phrase. Like he always calls it that. And you ask at the end, like, well, what if a person is too old or
Yeah. That's a great answer.
and yeah, I love that he just said, like, is there an age where a person stops being a Homo sapien? Because if not, they should be eating this way,
Yeah.
period. There's no age that's too young. If you're eating solid food, you should be eating this because this is how a person is supposed to eat, period. And I think if more people like I wonder if that would change some folks' like level of stress if they knew that like regardless of if this was working or not, because they're only thinking in terms of the number on the scale, it has to work. And it is working every day because you feel better, because
Hmm.
it is what you are biologically meant to eat.
Hmm. Yeah. Melanated meat fueled mama, I did not mean to call you out. Some people are doing okay on a protein sparing modified fast. So if you are, make sure that you take high fat breaks. I mean, he was pretty clear not to do this long term indefinitely, but
Hmm.
it is a tool. But I think that everyone is going to do better if they take a break. And I remember, thank you so much for the super sticker, Marianne. Thank you, thank you. But I remember when I first came across a protein sparing modified fast, Lyle McDonald was an early low carb fitness bodybuilder type, and he, coached people, and he wrote this book about how to do the protein sparing modified fast. And it was more for like, I guess it had been being used in the bodybuilder community for people who were trying to cut right before a competition. And so for someone who is like near or at goal weight, they can only do it like 5 days before it totally wrecks your metabolism. And someone who's a little heavier can go a little longer, but he was really clear, like if you have more time, like if you can start earlier cutting, like do it. Like this is not a great way to go about it. This will mess up your brain. Don't do this. This is an emergency situation when your livelihood is based on your weight.
Hmm.
And I thought that was interesting. But he wrote a very sort of detailed book about how to do it and everything. And so I've been familiar with it for a long time. And but he was really clear. Like you have to take breaks. You have to really be careful. And as soon as you see signs that you're having problems, you gotta take a break and like load up on the fat. So I don't I want to make sure that people hear that and understand that now. And even on doing 2 or 3 or 4 days a week on your non fasting days, you really need to eat a lot of fat and just make sure that you're having that, because you've got to send that signal to your body that it's there are not dire times happening. But I think, even just following a plain old high fat, moderate protein, low carb, carnivore approach or zero carb carnivore approach works slowly, but it works, and if you look back at yourself from 6 months ago, and actually compare pictures or tape measurements and not the scale, you'll see a difference.
Yeah. And that was what I loved about his answer to that question. He talked about the scale and letting that go. That's the thing that I preach all the time. Just have a tape measure. And he talked about just eating, and it does work. It's going to take time. You may gain some weight in the very beginning, but it does work. Your body will recompose. For some people, it happens really quickly. For some people, it's slow. For some people, it, what did he say? He said a plateau might just be your body saying, like, we need a break. We've
Yeah.
been losing a ton of weight and we have to recompose, basically like get myself back together, and then I'll be ready to lose weight again.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think Valerie makes a good point. Protein sparing modified fast isn't meant to be done long term, alternating um, and only a couple of days a week. It's just keeping it simple, cutting fat down low 2 days a week. So I think that before we go on, I think, well, we didn't define what is a protein sparing modified fast. So, and I actually had to make that distinction for no, wait, did I do that? For yeah, for Ken Berry because and I don't know if anybody watched looked at Instagram today, but Dr. Ben Bickman also did a video on protein sparing modified fast. So this is like the hot topic of the moment, I guess. But
Hmm.
so a protein sparing modified fast is when you're eating very, very low fat, usually around 30 grams of fat a day, and eating enough protein to satisfy whatever your needs are, for your height and your body and your activity level. So it is also very low calories. But there are other people that just can't tolerate high fat. Well, let me say that again. Who can't tolerate, uh, very high fat meals, and so they will choose the leaner option. So instead of a ribeye, they might have the New York strip steak. Instead of I don't know, I don't know. Instead of salmon, they might have shrimp or something. So Deborah's like that, where she can't eat really high fat. I don't, man, it's been so
But
long since we had Deborah on. I don't know if you even know who Deborah is. It's the pandemic carnivore.
that's
Um,
not a protein sparing modified fast though.
It is not. And so I want to make that distinction. So some people are trying to, lose weight by choosing a lower fat option, or having lower fat days where they're sort of eating a leaner cut of meat, not super lean, but just leaner.
Hmm.
And then other people are doing the protein sparing modified fast where they're going all the way down to 30 grams of fat a day. And so that was why I had to make that distinction in the conversation with Dr. Berry because, he was saying, if you prefer the New York strip to, the ribeye, like that's fine. If you like to have chicken thighs and, you know, um, and that's like a leaner option than say a brisket with a thick fat cap. But that's different from doing the protein sparing modified fast.
Very
So
much
he
so.
was saying the lower, people who go in the lower fat range, but still high fat overall, but lower than the ribeye folks. That's okay. He was saying that was fine. Yeah. Okay. So
So,
we. Uh
did you
huh.
want to talk about Bickman's video?
Yeah, we could talk about that. So I don't know if anybody saw that. Um, hey, Manosphere Mana, welcome. So what was Ben Bickman saying?
It was basically, he said he is concerned about the protein sparing modified fast for two reasons. One of them was that, geez, I can't remember what the first one was now. It was something
Well,
light though. It wasn't like his main concern. It was like
well,
basically
he
that
was
it's
trying to say that
unnecessary.
you wouldn't lose, you don't have to worry about eating all of this protein and complicating a fast,
Oh
because you're
yeah,
not going to lose muscle from fasting.
yeah. Like if you have enough fat that you're brain doesn't need to, your brain can run off the ketones and whatever glucose it's making, um, then you are not going to reach into your protein stores, which is basically your muscles, for energy. And then the other thing he said was that he was concerned that people are doing this like longer term, and there are people who are so low fat already that they really don't need to be fasting,
Hmm.
and they won't have enough body fat to last them if they do a protein sparing modified fast. Their body will turn to using protein for energy, at which point they will start to lose muscle.
Hmm. Yeah. And he was just saying it's too, I mean, and if it's interesting, he didn't use the word starvation, but that's the point of starvation when you
Hmm.
start to use your muscles for energy.
Yeah, yeah. Valerie,
Seth,
this is Ben Bickman.
yeah, he posted a video on his feed today on Instagram. You should definitely follow him if you don't. He's very, very interesting. And what was his book called? He wrote a book.
Uh,
I don't know. He wrote a
what was
book.
the
It
name of
was,
the book? Yeah,
very
I can't.
interesting. So definitely check that out. So I don't know. I don't want to. There are those of you who are using the protein sparing modified fast and not and seeming to have some success with it. So I would just be very cautious and make sure you take breaks where you load up on the fat and don't let it go too long.
And I would just say don't. It's so much easier.
Yeah, that's another option. That's another option. It is, I mean, it is definitely an adjustment. I did try, and I've been trying this year and eating some leaner cuts. I've gotten into London broil, and I've enjoyed it. I like meat. I like all kinds of meat, so I've enjoyed it. But I definitely enjoy chuck roast more. You know, it's um, it's not the same.
Mm.
So thank you, Ban in Sopo. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much.
And I've gone a little leaner, but not a lot. But I find myself enjoying a New York strip like pretty much just as much as a ribeye. Like, I like all that fat. I don't often have a craving for that much fat in what I'm eating. Um, Chuck roast is good because it's real easy to choose how much fat you're getting.
Hmm.
And I've been enjoying heart more. So I made some more heart jerky, and I found places now that are like yours where you can get the whole heart with the fat still on it.
Hmm.
And that is like the fat there is kind of just enough for me. I don't need much more.
Yeah, there's actually quite a lot of fat on the heart. So, like when you get the whole thing, it can be pretty covered in fat. None inside, but so it's nice when
Yeah.
you make that jerky. Um,
I cut a lot of that fat off, like the big chunks of it.
mhm.
Um, I cut that off and then I rendered that down today
Hmm.
because yeah, I didn't want all that on my jerky. I like the jerky better being more lean. I made some other jerky out of it was round rump roast, I think, which was more it was fattier than regular top or bottom round, but still not like fantastically marbled or something like that. And yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, huh. I like it fatty. So there you go. I feel like I shouldn't resist that, and because it never works out well for me. It just doesn't. And if I just let it
Uh,
go and just accept it as it is, that's just how it is. So, yeah.
so do you feel like you're realizing that you can go lean, but you don't enjoy it?
Not only, well, enjoying it, It's okay. I mean, I don't mind the, the taste and the flavor of it, but I'm saying the, the impact on my brain and my body, I don't, there's a very big rebound after. Like
Mm,
it's not pleasant, that sense of deprivation, sends me on on an overeating um, escapade afterwards. So it's like there's no benefit at the end. I'm left where I am, and I feel like that was kind of why I kind of gave up on fasting too, because and then there was a woman that I used to watch. God, I forgot her name, but Shameen something, who used to do the snake diet, and she had this whole, YouTube channel and did 2 years of videos, and she was always talking about the snake diet and this and that snake diet. And then she put out this video saying, I'm no longer going to be talking about the snake diet. I've decided, I look back over my fasting history, and I nothing is improved or different from when I started. Same weight, look same. And I think she had like herpes or something like that, and she was trying to heal that with the fasting. That was the same. Like nothing had
mm.
changed. Yeah, and so she was like, nah, yeah, I'm kind of done with this. And I'm like, man, you dragged all of us, down the road. We're watching your videos. I learned from you how to make the snake juice and like your enthusiasm for it. She even well, for a while, Cole Robinson was like drinking his pee or I don't know, doing some kind of fasting
Yep,
like that. And
something crazy.
she did a video with that. And so I was just like, man, man. So anyway, I've just
What's
decided.
this woman's name?
I think it was Shameen. I can't remember her last name. She was light skinned, mixed. I think she was living in Italy for a part of the time that she was doing the videos.
Mm.
I don't know if anybody in the chat is familiar with her.
Yeah,
Um,
if y'all can like spell her name, I want to find this video.
she had tons of videos. I don't know. Maybe she's taking her channel down. Um,
Well, I mean, I don't know how to spell Shamin, so
oh, Shemeen. Try that. Try that with like snake juice or something like that.
mhm.
Hey Anna, welcome. It's great to see you. Heather G, it's awesome to see you. Mana says, wait, what? Drinking what?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yep, that's the thing. Some of the snake diet people or snake juice people,
yeah. So
they
anyway,
say, I guess, you know what? Yeah, let's just move on from that.
yeah. So I just don't want, for me, it's just a challenge, for me. But I know that not every, Shameen Miller, that's right. But not
Mm,
everybody is like me, and is like that. Like I understand that not everybody is triggered by sugar or sweet taste. Not everybody has those same problems. So so fasting, I'm not saying it should be off the table. Like it's a good thing for many people who are able to do it. But if you feel like you're trying and you're not really getting anywhere, or you look back and you feel like you haven't really progressed, then it might be time to just put it aside. And it's one tool in the toolkit, as Dr. Barry said, and um, not all tools work for all jobs. So
mhm,
yeah. So, the weight loss and the protein sparing modified fasting I thought was really interesting. He clarified for me, the reality that, your body, there is a limit to how much weight your body is willing to or wants to lose at any one time. And so, recognizing that and knowing that me trying to pass that or manipulate that is just in the longer term not going to work. And I feel like at this point, finally, at this age, I'm ready to just settle in and let my body take the lead because I'm exhausted from trying to browbeat it, and it's just and that's not successful at it. So I give
right.
up.
It, it's a
I give
battle
up.
that you're gonna lose, and that like everyone has lost. No one beats their body.
Yeah,
Everyone. in various ways, we think that we have control over things, including our bodies, and we
Mhm.
don't.
Yeah.
It's like the most you can do is become, I guess I feel like partners with your body, like,
Yeah. I want to be
which is
friends.
right.
I want to stop fighting. I give up. And,
Right.
maybe the body's got some wisdom that, I haven't been even acknowledging.
Hmm. But yeah, it's not gonna happen on your timetable.
No, it's definitely not, but it will happen. So I hope that that gives some, encouragement to those of you out there. And yeah, so I don't know. The other thing that I thought, let's just move on because we beat a dead horse with the weight loss thing.
Right.
But and for all the guys watching, you got it easy. Everything's gonna work out. Just keep going. Don't worry about it. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Um, all all I can do is add more exercise, which I have been doing the last week or so. Really, stepping that up because, the other problem too is like now that we're in quarantine, like and there's no way for me to sort of naturally match the level of activity that I had before quarantine. So I have to be intentional to get to that level. And so I'm just, so I've been taking really long walks, and like, like the park near my house, if I go the full circuit, it's 3.5 or 4 miles, plus a couple more walks in the day, and I can get to 7 miles, like 6 miles. That's what I've been doing.
So, um, this has come up twice recently, and AA, they're coming to get you in videos that I've seen. Um, so one time was Brian Sanders on somebody's podcast. I can't remember who. And then another time, this is bad. I can't remember them. But they were both talking about exercise, and they both have the same approach, which is one that I enjoy because it doesn't take much time at all, and that's just do some resistance training until you're exhausted. Work the muscles out until you can't work them anymore. It doesn't take much time to do that if you're like adding weight like you need to or whatever, and then just be done. Hit it the next day or the days after or whatever. So they said like one of them said you can focus on squats, dip, and pull-ups.
I
Yeah.
think that
Oh,
is good advice. If you are strong enough to actually do much. But if you're really not that strong, then um, like you can't do enough to actually do much, if that makes sense.
but see, that doesn't make sense to me because you're strong enough to at least do part of the exercise. Like even if you can't do, um, full squat all the way down to your butt being parallel with your knees, just go down as far as you can go. If you can't do a full pull up with your chin all the way above the bar, how far can you pull up? Dips, I
Hmm.
could see being hard because that's your whole body weight resting on just your arms, but there's got to be a way to modify that before you can do
Well,
it a
and
full
I
dip.
actually found a couple of YouTube channels where I found people who do videos with really great progressions, and to help you go from like not being able to do a pull up, to being able to do one. But I still think that when you're at the beginning, like let's say we're talking about push-ups and you can only do wall push-ups, you can still you can exhaust that muscle, but that might only be a few push-ups, and that might not be enough for someone who is, trying to increase endurance and stamina, and and have weight loss, and who has a lot of weight to lose and so on. So I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
I think that's, I mean, I'm certainly not, a physiologist, so I'm willing to have that discussion, but I haven't seen. women have great success with that. Like I've seen Ted Naiman and his type, and yeah, they do that 20 minutes, 10 minutes a day, and yeah, and it keeps them shredded. But I haven't seen that work for women.
Right. And so I haven't seen that much either. And that's the part that I don't I don't know what's happening that I'm not seeing more women say like, oh yeah, so I did this resistance training and it did like completely work me out. And I got ripped from it. Or I don't know, not even ripped, but just like I put on a lot of muscle. Um, Actually I do see some women doing it. Um, I don't know what they're eating though. They're not in the carnivore space. I'd love to see some carnivore women take on resistance training and doing it that way, and actually seeing results. Because logically, it makes sense to me that if the goal is to exhaust the muscle, then whether you exhaust that in 10 reps or five, it doesn't matter. The point is that you exhausted it. Because like I can add more weight and then say I would only be able to do 5 squats as opposed to 12. I still squatted until I was exhausted. I should receive a similar benefit.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you got to do all the things. So today I did Shaun T, the Insanity workout program on
Mm,
Beachbody. So yeah, there was
okay,
that, and it was suicide drills and jump squats and that sort of thing. So yeah, all of it.
that's great.
Yeah.
Just in the past couple weeks, I think from watching those interviews, I've started to do a bit more. Like I already have a pull-up bar. I looked up a video of how to do squats or do dips around the house because I didn't have just have 2 bars like shoulder width apart that I can do dips on. Um, I did squats holding some weight, so nice. We're both getting into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Reluctantly, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I've been enjoying the walks though. Really enjoying that a lot. Um, yeah, I stood a lot in my former life, BC, and
Hmm.
I walked a lot, and yeah, and I miss having that level of stamina.
Yeah. Now that I'm home, I guess at this point, I really ought to just buy a standing desk or something because I had one of those at work and
Hmm.
I had gotten to the point I didn't even realize this had happened. Like, you first start doing it and you can barely stand up for like a half hour at a time. Um, I very quickly had gotten used to being up most of the day to the point that I had to remind myself it's okay to sit down to eat lunch.
Hmm.
And now I'm sitting down all the time because I'm at home and I don't have a standing desk.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do have a standing desk, so I am enjoying it. That's for sure. So I highly
Nice.
recommend it. Yeah. Um, so, anything else from the interview that you thought was really interesting or noteworthy or resonated for you?
Talked about the cholesterol and the ADA, protein sparing modified fast, the tape measure, um, the part about women's hormones, just
You're just
slowing
going
down
through
the
it.
process. Yeah, I mean, those are all the things that we already talked about. I'm trying
Well,
to remember
I
if there
thought
was
he was
anything.
encouraging in how many things can be improved or potentially reversed by following the carnivore diet, or at least a ketogenic diet. I mean, he made me feel a lot more optimistic, and and so it makes me feel like, huh, maybe there's a lot of things like you kind of have to be really far gone for you not to be able to make some improvement. And didn't Anna write in here, I think on Tuesday in the chat that she had the same kidney disease as Tariq and actually has seen improvement in her kidney function, which was not expected at all.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she was stage 4, which is, I mean, that's significant damage, but still seeing some improvement. So, like, yeah, you can be almost anywhere and see some changes.
Yeah, yeah, and I know that came up earlier too, earlier in the that video. You talked about, I think it was eyesight
Hmm.
improving in some cases,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that was a thing that I hadn't realized. I think I halfway knew that like diabetes had some effect on the eyes, but to know that you could just go carnivore, kick that insulin resistance in the ass, and your eyesight might improve or your eye problems might improve, I hadn't put that together.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that people who were diabetic can go blind. Like that's, and for some reason, some people they get the amputations, other people they go blind. And
Hmm.
and so when I started hearing carnivores talk about like their vision improving, it was just kind of like, what is that about? And it was more around reading glasses. So not, vision like you no longer wear glasses after wearing them since you were, 8. But that was just always something that floated in the back of my mind. And then when I started, it took me a while to kind of get like what is the damage that diabetes is causing or pre-diabetes. And and I thought it was really helpful that Dr. Berry clarified that what diabetes is doing is causing damage to all your blood vessels and capillaries over, it can be over a decade. I mean, as long as your insulin is elevated, even if it's not elevated to the point that you would be formally diagnosed with prediabetes or diabetes. Even with that elevation, it's creating damage, and so and in all places, all around your body, and just
Yeah.
depending, I guess, on who you are, it's going to have more or less damage, in certain places. Um, and so for some people, when you get started on carnivore and your eyesight turns around, to me and that's what I was trying to, get confirmation from him, is that's kind of a sign that your insulin resistance was damaging your eyes and now it's turning around, and that's a great thing.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's it. It can reverse a lot of things, and eye damage is apparently one of them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think it's nice that it's a tangible thing, because I feel like with diabetes and insulin resistance, I mean, until you are like given medication, it's still sort of, it feels sort of theoretical, like there isn't any pain relief. There isn't anything that's like reminding you moment to moment that this is happening until you get to the point where, you have to take medication or your blood sugar goes really high and you pass out and all that kind of stuff happens. But
mhm.
for years, there's no pain or association with it. So you don't know that all this damage is happening. And so I think for people whose vision improves, like that's a very tangible sign that you might not have otherwise noticed if it hadn't been pointed out, or, you know.
Yeah, like there's so many things that we don't realize are um, caused or exacerbated by insulin resistance, aka prediabetes, that yeah, you wouldn't even know that these things are happening and that they're all coming from your diet, your environment. I think I don't think he mentioned it in that interview with you, but Ken has talked about the fact that skin tags. A
Hmm.
lot of people, skin tags are caused by insulin resistance, and a lot of people's skin tags either get small or just fall off, or they go
Hmm.
away as
Yeah.
they're carnivore for long enough.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know, because I would see people as they get older like have so many, and it's like, oof, yes, and this is,
Yeah,
it's a big sign. But those are only two signs that that people get, and like often, like you said, just don't even know.
right. That's the problem. We have no idea that so many things we just think happen in life are connected to our diet.
Yeah. So happy to be Taylor. Welcome. It sounds like you're new to the community, so welcome. So excited you're here and 12 pounds down. That's fantastic.
Hmm.
Congratulations. Yeah. Yeah, I wish it would improve my nearsightedness, but that's clearly not going to happen. So there's a few things that carnivore will not cure, I guess.
Right. I'm just waiting. Once he said that, I thought like, you know what? I probably haven't gone for a prescription in a while. I should check and see.
Hmm. I have. Nothing's changed at all. So nothing.
Uh, can't win them all.
Okay, Anna says anywhere blood goes can be destroyed by diabetes, nerves, brains, kidneys, all organs in circulation. And Dr. Berry clarified for the men, there's specific places where blood is very important and it also can be damaged.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. That is a
Valerie,
common
carnivore
thing.
says, uh-huh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's a common thing in diabetic and pre-diabetic men is ED.
Uh-huh. Um, that's that sucks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad there's a solution, a way out. Um, Yeah. Melanated beet field mama says I had skin tags post pregnancy and they increased after and now they're gone. Wow. So I guess that's a sign
Mm.
you had like gestational diabetes or something.
Oh yeah, probably.
Hmm. Wow.
And she
Well,
thought the same thing. Yeah, man, we were just hoping for that prescription to go lower.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, and anybody from the who's watching, did you have any comments or questions about the interview or follow-up things? I know I wanted to hear more about, well, just more about race and the black
Hmm.
community. I mean,
Hmm.
he was very clear that amputations and like the dire ends of metabolic disease seem to be worse in the black community, and he didn't really um, what are the two things that ED stands for?
I don't know what the second thing is. I don't know. Joke went over my
Anyway.
head.
Yeah, but anyway, he said that we do worse, and it made me go back and look at that ProPublica article. I don't remember if you remember we had, posted it or shown it around last summer. I think it came out in May 2020, and it was about this black doctor in Mississippi who opened an amputation prevention clinic. I think that's what it was. And he was
Hmm.
basically trying to make sure that diabetics are not getting amputated, or that they're getting better treatment earlier to prevent the need for amputation. Oh, eating disorder, of
Hmm.
course. That makes sense. Sorry, Anna. Eating disorder. Thank you. Um,
Oh.
so yeah. So I don't know that he didn't. I mean, we kind of, I don't know, somehow veered away from the topic, but I didn't feel like there was, anything further that he was going to share about it. I mean, said pretty clearly that his clinical experience, like with patients and the people he worked with and the people he saw, that's, those outcomes were visible. Um, why
Yeah,
that
that
was
they're
happening is another question.
right. And by outcomes, you're talking about
Amputations
the amputations, the endpoints of
or the blindness or
metabolic
whatever the other
syndrome.
things.
Right. And he did say that that happens a lot more in his black patients. He definitely sees that, but it
Mhm.
seemed like that was all he could say. And I get the impression that just that research isn't being done. Nobody actually can point to any data to say why it is stronger in black people. These diseases seem to take hold of us and to hit us harder. Um, I
Hmm.
imagine there's not much of a widespread interest in that sort of data.
Well,
So,
I mean, if you don't even um, believe that there's a problem with carbs, there's no way to even do that data. I
yeah,
mean, he was saying that we have what was the word? Like more sensitivity to the poison. I don't remember what the word was. An overexposure or an allergy to. That's what he was essentially saying is that we'd have worse outcome with carbs. But how can you get a scientist or an institution to do that study if you don't think that there's anything wrong with carbs?
right. Like there's already not as much research, period. And then into the racial aspect of it, it's like even skinnying down even further the level of interest that most institutions are going to have in doing that
Yeah,
sort of research.
yeah. And so I asked Dr. Hampton, and he did say that he did send me a study. I asked him this like a couple of months ago, and he sent me a study that was, man, I should have looked it up before getting on here, but it it was something that you could use to extrapolate that there's a greater sensitivity or response to sugar and carbs in people, well, people of color generally, than in the white population. So, um, but that was all he could come up with in the literature.
Hmm.
So I should find
Yeah.
that and post that for everybody. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and I think I hope that we eventually end up with more answers on that because I would think that that would lead to hopefully a better way to treat Black people. Um, but I don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think that that's going to happen. Unfortunately, the
Yeah,
way I see
to
it,
be honest.
yeah. I mean, the way I see it, like, keto has become worldwide popular and it is the most commonly Googled thing. It's the diet that most people are doing, and yet it's still characterized as being an extreme fad diet that's unsafe. And so I think that, we're just going to have this divergence where, the media and the institutions are going in one direction and everybody else who's actually trying to diet and figure out how to eat for the rest of their lives is going in another direction, and they're just, those paths are diverging. And so there is this grassroots movement to, to educate ourselves, to teach ourselves, to figure out how to do this and to maintain it and do it long term. And we are building communities around these diets, and we're just, we're treating ourselves essentially. And I think the same, is true, and certainly for the carnivore diet too, is that, we're never going to get that institutional support, but over time people are going to see better outcomes with with our population, and then just decide, well, to heck with what the study says, like, I need to lose weight, I feel bad today, and I need to make a change today.
Yep. And that is actually that's part of where I end up having a problem with some folks. Like it seems that their focus is on data. They want to prove things. Um they want to do this stuff to figure out like so what actually happens when a person eats protein. Um, for instance, like, is it possible that I am eating protein and that is jacking up my insulin, which is doing the exact wrong things that I don't want to do? And that's why I like the proper human diet approach. I like the idea of just saying that this is what we are meant to eat because a lot of those questions, a lot of that like focus on science um, ends up complicating things.
Hmm.
And then I'm on Reddit explaining to somebody why they don't need to worry about getting 5 grams of sodium every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think I would like answers to those questions, but I think with or without the answers to those questions, we know what the like ultimate answer is.
Yeah. I mean, one of the people that I follow on Instagram, I think his name is oh, I forgot what his handle is. He changed it, but he was a cancer patient, and he had been going. I think he's from Spain, and he had been going to Paleo Medicina clinic in Hungary,
Mm,
and they're the ones who would tell you to eat. I think 500 grams of meat, which is about 14 ounces of meat, and you have to make sure that you're eating. Um, 80% of your calories are coming from fat, and so people, you see the people eating like raw pieces of suet, and you have to eat a certain amount of liver each day and a certain amount of bone marrow or brain each day. And so they were very strict, and he seemed to actually beat the cancer. But one of the things, he's obviously much more tested than the rest of us, because they're looking for any kind of problems. And so one of the things that came out was that his bone marrow, no, his bone density had decreased significantly, and he
mm,
now had uh, um, oh my god, osteoporosis. And
mm,
which was interesting. And I kind of wondered, a lot of people have complained about how with the PKB method of keeping your protein moderate, your fat really high, it's just not enough food. And some people just need more food, or a lot of us need more food than that. And I remember Jack Rustin, he had done it, and he said he just wasted away, and he just needed more food. And so I don't know, it makes me wonder if like that's just not enough protein for an adult person. So, and he believes, this person on Instagram believed that it was well, I mean, I'm sure the cancer treatments, chemotherapy, and all of that contributed to it. So let's not say that it was the diet alone, but perhaps he does need more fat. I mean, more meat and more protein. Um, overall, more calories overall. I don't know, but it just made
I
me think, getting into when you get so targeted and so focused on the science, it can just make it hard. And if you just listen to your appetite, you'll get the right amount.
yeah, and that's usually what I tell people, and it's definitely how I try to live my life. Is I at times will find myself thinking too hard about things, and then I screw something up. Like that's been the salt thing, that's been the protein, or not really with protein. I
Hmm.
haven't reached a point yet where I've eaten like I've focused on protein too much in any day, but I've definitely focused on salt too much, and I have focused on fat too much,
Hmm.
and none of those turn out good.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much simpler to just eat intuitively, and what I find, at least right now, intuitively, is that I want more protein.
Yeah.
Um, that doesn't even really mean low fat or anything near low fat. It's just a little less than what I was eating before.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I definitely get days where I need to go and look for beef fat trimmings again, because if I could have a day where I just ate beef fat trimmings, fried them,
Mm,
like, yeah, that's a level of satisfaction that just does not happen often.
okay.
Yeah. No, let me go back to Miss Jenkins, who says, I'm new to the community and tried to start carnivore. I experienced extreme nausea. Is that common? Are there ways to increase stomach acid? Um, so I think that's not uncommon. And I've actually had other people ask me about that recently. So I think there's a couple of things going on. What do you think, Arian? You are the one who's struggling
My
most with the stomach stuff.
Yeah, my first guess would be you are having too much fat.
Hmm.
Extreme nausea sounds like entirely too much fat, especially liquid fat.
Yeah. So if
So
you're drinking your food, it's too much
stop
fat.
it.
Yeah.
If you're drinking your liquid fat, stop it right now.
But my stomach, on the other hand, is like, great, bring it on. It's
Right.
like I
Yeah.
seem to
So
have
if you
built an iron stomach for that kind of thing.
um yeah, so if you're one of those crazies like 8A, then have a ball with the liquid fat. But otherwise, especially extreme nausea for a new person, it sounds like it's way more fat than you're used to dealing with. That is normally, I feel like at least three-quarters of the time, that's the case. That's the
Hmm.
reason that people have are so nauseous up front.
Yeah. And then you want to just make sure that you are having enough salt. There's a video called Common Problems, Common Solutions. If you look on
Hmm.
my channel, I have a playlist called Start Here, and I think it's the second video. And so it talks about, what to do for some of the common problems that people experience on carnivore, and making sure that you eat enough salt so that your body can even produce the stomach acid necessary to digest the meat. And then it might be that you also need to add in hydrochloric acid, which is, what's already in your stomach, but you might need more of it. And so, you might need to order some of that. So watch that video. It'll give you all the instructions on how to do it, what to order, and all that. And let us know
Yeah.
how it's coming along.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Go through the steps in that video. Hydrochloric acid is the last resort, and there's steps before then, like Ade mentioned. What was the other thing you said? Oh, having enough salt. Like that's a big one. A lot of
Yeah.
times it's not even that you need to necessarily work to increase stomach acid. You need to fix other parts of your diet, such as salt, such as the amount of fat you're eating, and then your body will start digesting food and it's getting all more of what it needs, and then it can make more stomach acid. That easy.
Yeah. And I had read that salt is necessary to make stomach acid. So if you're not eating enough
Hmm.
salt, you're not going to be able to make what you need. So heavily
Yeah.
salting your meals, as much as you can tolerate by your taste is, that's what you need to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and then to go back to the research, I see Bayet Inspo says that could be race-based. Could be that race-based medicine is diagnosing or misdiagnosing more for amputation. So for sure, Black people don't get the same quality or level of care, even when uh, take into account, income and location and all of that stuff. So even when all that's the same, we still don't get as good a care. And we also don't have the same kind of interventions. But even still, like the disparity in terms of the amputations can't really be accounted for that
Mm.
way. So I don't know. Yeah. Um, and Giacomo says we should know intuitively that we are carbivorous. It's hard to know that when you're high on it.
Yeah, that's the problem.
So
We
yeah,
don't have our faculties before we've been exposed to the carbs
yeah,
already.
yeah. And R. Jones says, I've been watching YouTube videos for quite a while, but the algorithm never suggested you. I had to search black carnivore. Yep. Yeah. I don't, I don't know. I definitely am trying to switch up my approach. So I think I need to create more content. I was actually looking at, some of the other YouTubers, and I saw that Dr. Berg has, well, he's 5 million subscribers, but he has 4,000 videos on his channel, and I was like, man,
Sheesh.
and I have like 130. Like I got a lot work to go to catch up. So yeah, I think I just need to start creating more content, more short content. So look for that from me, and we'll see what happens if I pump up the output and yeah, and talk to everybody. But I like making videos, so I've actually gotten behind on doing my other kind of instructional videos. So I want to get going with that and start doing that again. But yeah, I do like making videos.
Yeah. I'm also gonna go ahead and say the algorithm is probably racist.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And the people that use the algorithm are racist.
There you
Probably.
go. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so there you go. I don't know. So Anna says I'm eating more meat per day, closer to 2 pounds, while I'm on the beef salt and water challenge, and dropped 6 pounds in the first week. I know Anna has been doing fantastically, and
Nice.
yeah, I'm really excited. And I do try to eat. I think that I really want to let go of this restriction mindset and just eat whatever, however much, my body decides it needs to eat. And that may be more 2 pounds or more, and look and see what happens. That you might find that, your levels of stress go down and your body's ability to lose weight increase because, you're finally, I don't know, providing all the raw materials. So hard.
Eh.
This dieting stuff is so hard. So hard. And you
That's
guys
why
are
you just let
on
it
any of
go.
this stuff. I know, I
Let
am.
it go. Let it go. Like
I
just
bought some
be. Yes.
Birkenstocks, which in my form, I mean, the younger me said, when I start wearing those, I have given up. And so I've just given up. But then I don't know why I happened to get a pair. No shade to all of you who like them, but I got a pair, and oh my God, it is the best thing that I've ever put on my feet. I cannot believe that I've wasted all these years, throwing shade at them, and I could have been walking like I'm walking in heaven. So
So,
now this is all I'm ever gonna wear again. I've already decided. And but to look at me, like it does to me, it does look like I've given up.
but it turns out everybody else who gave up was right.
Just because they were right didn't mean that they didn't, it was not the stylish choice.
I mean,
You know.
it
Anyway,
feels like they were right, and you found out like, oh, you know what? It's not giving up. It's choosing to be comfortable. You just
yeah.
reframe it in your head.
It's a reframing. It's a reframing. But now I have arches. Like when I walk on the floor, I can't feel the floor underneath where the arch is. That's never happened
Hmm.
before. Yeah. So it's significant.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and Paulette ain't feeling it. You being shady.
Yeah, I know. I should stop. So for all of you who are wearing Birkenstocks, I think you look great. And I think you look great. So don't listen to me.
Cop
I,
out.
yeah. Yeah. They are very popular now, though, and I see all people of all ages wearing them. So I need to just get over it and just be comfortable. And there's nothing, nothing better than being comfortable.
I
Hmm.
mean,
Hmm.
you're in the house a lot of times anyway. Who are you not wearing Birkenstocks for?
That's true. That's true. So Anna says, to be fair with her weight loss, she was also having no heavy whipping cream, no dairy, and no eggs. So, but it's not a uh, calorie increase or decrease. Hmm. Probably
I mean,
the dairy is the biggest part there.
yeah, sounds like it. No
Okay.
heavy whipping cream, no dairy, no eggs. Yeah, probably the cream and whatever other kind of dairy you were having.
Yeah. Okay, Paulette, I'm gonna look for you. First of all, I will friend you, so we don't have this problem again, and I will look for your message. Now I understand where it is.
Yeah, it's
And
in the
yeah,
message request, I guess.
yeah. And Anna, at least they aren't Crocs. Yes, at least I did not. I did not do that. Yeah. Um, but the Crocs are super popular here as well. I don't know. I mean, I'm in New York and everyone's wearing them, so and we're New Yorkers are stylish if nothing else. So mm,
Y'all got that.
we do, we do.
Like Crocs are my give up shoes.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, we have had a long conversation tonight, and I hope that you all took away something about the interview with Dr. Berry, and you have some ideas about how you want to go forward. I think I've circled around, I've entertained and been interested in a lot of different approaches to doing the carnivore diet. But I gotta say, like, I find it is most delightful when, it's a fatty piece of meat, as much as I want, and then, like, that's it, and not worry about anything else. So no more macros, no more calculating, no more nothing, and just, kind of let your body do its thing, because there's so many other things that it wants to do before weight loss. And trying to fight that is just not working. It's just not working.
Right.
So
It's
let it
like
heal, let it do what it thinks is an emergency, which probably is an emergency.
that's the wild part
Like, isn't it
is
better for your eyesight to improve and to move away from going blind? Like, I mean, going blind is an emergency, I think.
right. It's like if only the body could signal like, no, I'm working on this thing right now. Um,
I know
then
what I'm
we'd
doing.
know something. Yeah, right, right. Like, look. You're all worried about losing this, like what you are calling a love handle, and it's like, no, you don't understand. Like, we have what is it, like macular degeneration that we're trying to deal with, and like like you'll be in conversations with people. I'm sure you've had this with your clients sometimes. I know I've dealt with it where you want to just tell somebody like, can you just focus? If you could just focus for 1 minute on something other than your weight, you would realize that there are like five different things that you could say are better right now, but you want to screw with things because this one part isn't going the way that you want it to.
Yeah, yeah. It just takes time to to remove I don't know how our brains have and our minds have been just messed up. It just really
Hmm.
it takes a lot of time to get past that. So
Yeah.
there you
And
go. No, go ahead.
it, it's why those folks like they deserve to be met with empathy because this isn't like no one chooses to be I don't know, I guess obsessed isn't really the right word, but like over focused on weight. Nobody wants that. Um, it was given to you at a time when you didn't have a choice.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I wonder when, people scales were even like, I mean, as a people, we're probably only been weighing ourselves like 60, 75 years.
Probably,
So,
yeah.
yeah, unless you're at the county fair or get to the doctor's office.
Yeah. Um, I wonder how often people were even weighed then. Like, yeah, like doctor scales had to exist way before home scales, but even
I
doctor
would
scales,
think,
I wonder if they
uh,
were weighing people regularly.
I would think the weighing was happening wherever the animals were, because it'll be like the one scale that weighs the largest thing, and then that's where you get your
Probably.
sitting. Yeah. So at the county
Yeah. Like
fair,
in
that would be where the weighing would be happening.
and so like no one's even thinking about weighing themselves because who cares? We don't do that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like, yeah. Huh.
So. All right, folks. So we have had an awesome conversation, and I did have a really interesting interview with Dr. Rimka. So I don't know if any of you follow her on Instagram or whatever, but she is fascinating, and we ended up having this super long conversation. We had it yesterday, and it's so long. I'm debating whether to cut it into two. So I don't know, but look for that next week, and I'm excited to to keep doing this, to keep talking to people, and I know I got a lot of requests to actually reach out to Kelly Hogan and to Charles Washington, so I will, and let's see, and hopefully they will be interested. I don't know, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
All right,
I can't wait for those.
yeah. All right, everybody, have a great one.
Good night.
All right, good night.